last week I made a top 10 worst movies list of 2020. And this week, I want to do the best ones. The movie theater experience might have been taken away from us due to the pandemic, but I was still able to see some of the best movies of 2020. We all did. Fortunately, it wasn't through the theater, but it was through streaming platforms, for your television screens, or for computer screens, or even for your phone. It might have been different this year, but this has been a horrible year in general. I mean, there have been some good points from it. The Lakers won. But no, we're not here for that. We're here to talk about 10 of the best movies of 2020. And while a lot of the films that I did want to see unfortunately got pushed back to next year, I was able to still manage to see some great films. Not every movie on this list is great. They're good, but they're not Oscar nominated films. These 10 films I enjoyed and really liked and felt like they really were the best films of the year. I didn't see every movie unfortunately this year, but I will. This list will change. I will post the changes, probably not. But until then, these are 10 of the best movies that I think deserve to be on this list. So, without further ado, let's talk about the top 10 best movies of 2020. Bill and Ted Face the Music is shockingly a really good film. I really did like this movie. I didn't expect to like a Bill and Ted film 20 years later, and I didn't think it would work 20 years later, but shockingly enough, it did. Now, I'm a big fan of Bill and Ted. I like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and I love Bogus Journey, but I really like this film a lot more. It felt good seeing Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter playing the roles of Bill and Ted again, and more so, I enjoyed watching the new characters that were in this film, especially their daughters. I really enjoyed them in this movie. I enjoyed learning about them. I enjoyed the fact that they were more a part of the story than Bill and Ted were. They were a real big part of the story, and I don't want to give too much away. So go see this movie. It's real fun. If you love nostalgic roller coaster films, this is that film. If you really love the Bill and Ted films, this is the film you would like. If it would have been in the movie theaters, it would have done really well. It critically did pretty well. The critics love this movie. So if you love Bill and Ted films, if you love Keanu Reeves in general, you would like this movie. Keanu Reeves is like one of the greatest actors of all time. Let's face it. Man was in John Wick 3, Toy Story 4, and now Bill and Ted, all within like a year and a half. That's like amazing. But yes, this movie's great. In fact, this movie is excellent. Alright, I'm gonna stop embarrassing myself right now because two people probably understood what I just said watching this video. Anyway, let's get on to our next film. So after seeing this poor design, I didn't expect Sonic the Hedgehog to make this list. And then Paramount decided we're going to fix that design. And we got this movie. So here we go. Sonic the Hedgehog was shockingly a great movie. And I ain't gonna lie, I liked it. It was fun. It was enjoyable. Sonic fans are going to love this movie. If they didn't see it. If they did see it, then you know how good it is. It has great visual effects, has great action scenes, it has great performances from Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik and Ben Schwartz as Sonic the Hedgehog. The story can use some work because it felt like a buddy cop comedy, but still, I didn't mind it. The film is the sixth highest grossing film of 2020 with over $310 million in the box office. And we got a great performance of Jim Carrey. It felt like his glory days, like in the 90s and early 2000s. Like, I enjoyed it. I love seeing Jim Carrey have fun. It was a great, it was fun. It was a fun, lovable, enjoyable film. It's one of the best films of 2020. The source material in this film worked really well, considering the fact that it's a video game adaptation. It was fun. I keep saying it was fun because it's fun. I really like this film. I didn't expect myself to like this film because, quite frankly, I was wrong. I was wrong. I'm allowed to be wrong about some things, and this is one of those times where I was wrong. But not a big Sonic fan. I'm not gonna lie. Hashtag Team Mario. But this is a good film. Next film, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom will probably go down in history as one of the best Netflix films of all time. It's a very powerful film that instead of showing scenes of racism, it has dialogue that talks about racism. And the performances in this film are really great, especially Viola Davis as Ma Rainey and the late great Chadwick Boseman as Levy Green. The film in general is a very great slow burning film, and the themes in this film is really great. We're in a film that is pretty much takes place in one day, where a recording session for Ma Rainey's records go haywire a little bit. There's tensions between the bandmates and also tensions between the band and Ma Rainey. And there's a lot going on. There's a lot happening in this one film. It feels cluttered at times, but it's not. The dialogue really is just like perfect. The storytelling in this film is perfect. In my eyes, it's really great. I know a lot of people are going to say it's not because critics are critics, but this film has a very high percentage of Rotten Tomatoes for a reason. And without a doubt, I'm going to say this right now. This film's going to get nominated for a lot of Oscars, including Chadwick Boseman as Levy Green for Best Actor. If he doesn't get nominated, there's something wrong with the Academy. Um, but yeah, this was a very great film, and I know the tone of my voice sounds pretty sad because it gets sad, throughout the film, having to learn about what's going on right now in the world with racism and how it was going down back in the 1920s. You start to get sad about it. You start to think about it. I wish people could stop hating each other and just love more. And until that day comes, it will be waiting. But no, I don't want to be political in this video. Go check out Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. It's a very great film, and go check out Chadwick Boseman's final performance. When Robin Williams passed away, it was very hard on me. It was something that was hard to deal with as he was a hero of mine. He's someone I wanted to be when I grew up, and he's someone that I cared about. I didn't know him personally, but if I did, he would be like a big brother, a father figure, if you would. But Robin's Wish really helped me understand what happened with Robin Williams' mind and why he did what he did 6 years ago. And this documentary perfectly tells the story of what happened. And without a doubt, learning about this educated me a lot more about Lewy body disease, which is a form of dementia, which Robin Williams did have. And it was fucking with his head. It was messing his mind up. It was giving him depression, and he was starting to get anxiety attacks. And he was slowly disappearing from this world. His mind was slowly just falling apart, and he wasn't him anymore. He was someone else, and he knew that, and he took his life because of it. And this documentary talks about that. And it's a very great documentary. There's not much I want to say about it because I think it's something that you guys should watch. But most of all, it's something that needs to be said because it was never said directly what was going on with him. I think you guys would be grateful to see this documentary as a whole because it could help you too. And if you know anybody who's dealing with this, it could educate you with it as well. And yeah, I just want to say, the bottom of my heart, rest in peace, Robin. I love you, and I miss you, and I know you're in a better place right now. So having a Borat film in 2020 is one of the most phenomenal ideas I've ever seen. Sacha Baron Cohen returning as Borat 14 years later is amazing, especially during a COVID pandemic, which we'll get to it. So, this film's plot is very ridiculous. Borat needs to give away his daughter to Vice President Mike Pence for some reason. I believe it was because it would bring honor to his country, which I guess the last time it didn't work. So okay. Um, and this is all going down during the COVID pandemic and the 2020 election. So it's like, what the fuck, bro? This is honestly probably the best comedy film this year, in my opinion. It is like for pure comedy, this is the best one. It's just as controversial as the first Borat. It's not as good as the first one, but it's a good sequel. Um, Maria Bakalova, who plays Borat's daughter, does a phenomenal job, and I see her in the next 10 years doing a lot of great things. This is only her third feature film. It's like the first film where she's like, the top actor, the main actor or actress, and she does a really great job. Borat, Sacha Baron Cohen does a really great job. There's a lot of funny moments, as believe I said, and it just what a perfect timing for this film to come out. To be honest, like this wasn't planned. I think even if it was planned, it's like the COVID pandemic was just put into the film. It was like, oh, you know what? That'll be controversial. Let's have Borat during the COVID pandemic. That's perfect. This is honestly a great film, and I enjoyed the shit out of it. I don't know what it was about this movie, but the story for some reason, like it hooked me. And Pete Davidson, who I don't support his jokes. I don't like the jokes he makes. I don't like his comedy. I like this acting in this film. Him and Bill Burr had like some great chemistry together, and it's not easily to see like two comedians just like put on great dramatic roles together. Because this is a comedy, but it's also a drama film. So in a sense, this is a dramedy. Judd Apatow did a great job transitioning comedy scenes into dramatic scenes, and the dialogue and screenplay for this film is phenomenally good. The chemistry between the actors are pure perfection. And if I have to say one thing about this film that I don't think I've heard a lot of people say, this film honors Pete Davidson's father, who was a firefighter during the 9/11 attacks, and this film honors him really well in a way because this is kind of like a semi-biographical pick for Pete Davidson because this is technically not about his actual father, but in a way it is. It's kind of like what Shia LaBeouf did for his father for Honey Boy. So in a way, I like that movie, but I also like this movie. I like movies like that. I think there should be more films like this where an actor, puts something that happened in their life and kind of like puts it in a film, but you know that it's not about that certain moment. It's honoring that moment. And I like that. The story I really liked. It played with my heartstrings, and as a whole, I like this film. It's one of my favorite films of this year for a reason because it left me emotional and because it was just a fun film, but at the same time, a really great film. Will it get any awards? I'm hoping screenplay. I don't know. If it gets any others, that's great. But in the end, it's a really great film. If you lost a loved one, like your mom or your dad, and you have a younger sibling or an older sibling, any sibling in general, you could relate to this movie. The film has a great story, a very powerful message, and in general, the film's about two brothers who go on a quest to find an ancient artifact to bring back their father temporarily from the dead, just to spend like one more time with him, just to have some last moments with him. I don't relate to this movie in a sense. I relate to the message. Like also like a hidden part of the story. There was a part in this movie where I'm not gonna lie, I cried in the theater. This was the last film and only film I saw in the theater a week prior to the pandemic, by the way. So yikes! But um, the film made me cry, and there's a part in this movie where one of the characters talks about not being able to say goodbye to their father, and I never got to say goodbye to my grandmother before she passed. She just passed, you know, out of the blue, and it just happened, and I didn't want to go to the hospital to see her, and that happened to him, to Barley. That's his name, Barley. I had a hard time remembering it. That's why I was going on and almost crying. So yeah, we're leaving that in the video. Pixar, they do this great all the time. They are known to making powerful stories into their animated films. They're gonna play with your heart. They're gonna make you try to cry, and then you're gonna cry. And this film does that. The animation in this film is great. The story is great. The voice cast is great. I love Tom Holland and Chris Pratt in this film. They work really well together. And I think in the end, I feel like this film won't be remembered as much because it was only in the theaters for a couple of weeks and it financially didn't do well because of that. But at the same time, it's one of Pixar's, not their strongest, but like probably one of their best stories It's a very sad film. It's a very fun film, and it has its fun moments, but it's a film that a lot of people can relate to. And like I said, it made me cry. It almost made me cry just talking about it. So, you guys have that. Steve just cried on video. So there you go. Sound of Metal has a great performance out of Riz Ahmed. Sound of Metal has great sound design from the sound design production team, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? I don't know how to credit the sound design people. Whoever worked on the sound design, you did great. Uh, the acting in this movie is great. The story is great. I love the fact that I can understand and be educated about the people that lose their hearing and become deaf, because this film's about a drummer who loses his hearing and is becoming deaf, and we're following his story of him trying to understand and be self-aware of it in a program, and him having to deal with this, like, I'm deaf, I need to live with this throughout my whole life now, and to be educated about it, it feels great. I thought, like I said, the sound design was great, the acting was great, and this was an Amazon Prime Video film. Like, I believe this was an independent film because it was in a film festival last year, but I'm gonna say it's independent. It's an independent film. It's a great film. It's under the radar. That's how great it is. Usually independent films are great. Just saying. Always check a great independent film like this. But Riz Ahmed carries this movie, and the film kind of like centers around him. Um, and with great reason. There's a part in this film where there's actors that are using sign language, and Riz Ahmed's character cannot understand it, and we don't understand because we don't have any subtitles. So what was done is, once Riz Ahmed finally got to understand and read and actually do the sign language, he got to not only understand what was going on, but we got to understand what was going on because we could read the subtitles. So I thought that was a very clever idea, filmmaking wise, and it's just to center the whole story around this one character. I think is smart because we're following his story. We're trying to understand what he's going through, because if you have been deaf and can relate to this movie, then what happens next. You understand the struggle. People like me who you know don't have a problem with hearing and don't have a well, I am a man, so I might have a little problem with hearing. Sorry guys, we do, but if you're not deaf, you don't relate to this movie. And I thought the sound design does a great job with that, with the muffling noise starting to, like, in the headphones, starting to, like, crack a little bit, or even when he starts losing his hearing, like the voice starts slowly just going away, kind of like that. So I thought they did a really great job with the sound design. But this movie, I guarantee you, is phenomenally good. I know I'm taking a lot of time just to talk about it because it's a good film. It's one of my favorite films this year, and I didn't think I would like put it this high. I knew it was going to be a great film. Looking at the trailer, I thought it was going to be great, and it was great. I was very scared watching this movie. This movie was very scary. Now, of all seriousness, this is a really great horror movie. Elizabeth Moss and Lionel put the Oscar nominations in their name. Oh my god! First of all, Lionel's screenplay and directing in this film is great, and Elizabeth Moss's performance and acting in this film is great. You know why they're so great? Because they carry the film. They do great. They did amazing. Everything else is like, that was really good. It was very like incredible stuff. The storytelling was incredible. Um, the visual effects were incredible. The rest of the acting was incredible. Hell, this movie made $140 million in the box office on a $7 million budget. Put this film in the Oscars, please. No, in all seriousness, it was scary. I was very scared. I was under my covers shaking, holding my teddy bear, and I was like, "Mommy, turn it off. I'm scared." I don't know why I'm talking like a kid, but it works. It works. The way they made the Invisible Man is new. It's fresh because this is a remake of the classic monster of the Invisible Man from like the 1940s. I believe the 1940s, somewhere around that era. And the way they did it in this film is great. I really enjoyed it. I really thought it was very a clever idea. And the whole idea of, like, oh, my abusive boyfriend is stalking me and has the ability to become invisible, even though he committed suicide. So it's like that idea of itself is smart, and it works well in the story. I don't know what else to say about this film. It was scary. I was scared. I peed the bed a little. I didn't pee the bed at all. It was a very good film. That's all I'm saying. I think Soul in general is probably the best film of this year. It really stands out of all the Pixar films as it's more for an adult demographic. Even though it's for kids, it's a kids movie. It's Pixar, it's animation, it's a kids film. But kids aren't going to understand and relate to it as much as say like 16, 17-year-old teenagers and younger adults, even older adults. I mean, the main character is a 40-year-old man who's a band teacher who wants to be a jazz musician. The animation in this film is beautiful. I love the lighting and shadows that they use in this film as it looks real, makes the characters look real. I love the characters. I don't like all of them, but I like most of them. I like Joe Gardner, who's the main character played by Jamie Foxx. I like 22, not as much, but I like her. She has some funny moments. I like the barber in this film. I like most of these characters, especially the Jerrys and the Terry in this film. They have some great lines and they're just comedic relief. But the message and story in this film, I truly love, and I could kind of relate to. I don't want to give too much away for this film, but because I want you guys to see it, the story and message centers on the idea of living your life and finding your purpose and passion in life that will make your life seem happy. A lot of people are sad with what they do in their life, and they never go through what they want with their passion. And this film kind of tells you like go for what you want to do with your life. Do what you are passionate for. You want to be a musician, go for it. You want to be a baseball player, go for it. Hell, you want to go to space. That you want to go to the moon, go to the moon. I'll bring the moon to you. But this film, it's very emotional film. It's a very heartwarming film that Pete Docter, the director of this film, does perfectly well. He's done it in Monsters Inc. He did it amazingly well in Up. We all cried for Up. And he did an amazing job with Inside Out. It's just like Pixar, man. They're really evolving. Every film gets better and better, except Cars 2, Brave, and Dinosaur. But this film, it gets real. It's really good. It has its comedic relief moments. It has its very, down to earth, like real moments, and it's just like it inspires you. This film inspires you to do great things. And the message is powerful and it inspires you too. And it's just like I love this film. This is the last film I watched in 2020, mind you, and I knew this film was going to be great, but I didn't know how great it was going to be. And to just skyrocket into my number one on my list is crazy. It's insane. Like I was expecting The Invisible Man or Onward to be my number one, but that shit changed. And when I watched Soul, it really changed me. Like I really thought this film deserves a lot. Like the voice cast, they deserve a lot for just doing great. The animators did amazing. The storytellers, the people that build the stories, Pete Docter and all the people from the screenplay, they did great. I know I'm going on and on about this film because the way it was put together and executed was phenomenal. And a lot of people online are reviewing this film right now, and they're on the fence. They both either like it or they like it, but don't think it's that great. But in my opinion, I think it's the best film of this year, and I think without a doubt, it's going to be up there as one of the best Pixar films of all time.